Do you remember during COVID where everybody's like, look how many people are leaving New York, look how many people are leaving California, look how many people are leaving Illinois, and everybody was talking about there's a mass migration to Texas, Florida, certain states. There were 2 states that lost $1 trillion of money under management. $1 trillion of wealth moved out of 2 states. I'll show you the numbers and I'll show you who gained it. But this led to some people sitting there and saying, maybe it's time for Texas to have its own stock exchange. No way. That's a pretty crazy idea. You mean to tell me typically it's always been New York Stock Exchange, it's been NASDAQ? Yeah. Why would I want to go to the Texas Stock Exchange? Well, because if you were on NASDAQ right now, here's NASDAQ's new mandate to be on their stock exchange. Boardroom diversity quotas for companies that list shares on its exchange starting this year. They must have a woman, underrepresented minority, LGBTQ member, or publicly explain why they don't. Can you imagine the answer? Well, let me tell you why we don't have a gay board member right now. It's because, do you really want to, who the hell are you to explain it? I'm running a freaking business. You want me to explain to you why I don't have somebody that's on a board that's this? I'm bringing the best people in the company. And then they say, boards of bigger companies must include at least 2 diverse directors by the end of the year. So imagine NASDAQ is saying, here's what you got to do. And then Texas says, listen, we're going to start something that's anti-woke, that's more CEO-friendly, capitalism-friendly, results-friendly. Do your thing. And NASDAQ is like, oh, shit. What if all of a sudden people move? Who's going to back Texas Stock Exchange? You ready? This is where it gets confusing. Ken Griffin from Citadel and BlackRock? Isn't BlackRock like the face of ESG and DEI and all this bullshit? Yeah, maybe even BlackRock is diversifying their DEI philosophies and saying, well, let's invest in this exchange. It's a little DEI. Because we think the America's kind of going this way here. Anyways, the reality of it is they raised $120 million. They're doing it. And now people are shivering saying, what if more companies go there? Because there's this guy, I don't know if you guys follow his story or not. He's worth around $220 billion. He owns one of these social media companies. He builds these cars that go fast and sells them for like $55,000, $65,000. And, he's been in a few movies. They compare him to this guy named Iron Man. I don't know who he is. He just took his incorporation. He got the voters to share that he was going to leave Delaware, and he moved from California to Texas and Austin. I mean, I don't know. Maybe what if he, creates a little bit of controversy and decides to move it there? What would happen then? Oh my God, right? We can't lose him. We've had him, control him because he has to follow our guidelines. It's a lot of stuff going on that we're going to be talking about today. If you have value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. So for years, public companies and brokers have complained about high fees at NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, but they've paid it up for access to America's deep capital markets. Even so, the duopoly's fees have helped drive some 40% of trading volume off the 2 exchanges, resulting in less liquidity and worse pricing in these exchanges. So this is where the opportunity lies, where we still don't know what the fees are going to be with Texas Stock Exchange. All we've been told is that they're going to be working on something to happen with it. Texas Stock Exchange investors have a better solution. This is what they say: reduce fees and create other incentives that make exchange-based trading more attractive, improving liquidity and prices for all investors. The Texas Stock Exchange also seeks to offer public companies and exchange-traded products, sponsors more predictability around listing standards and associated costs. James Lee, the CEO of Texas Stock Exchange, explained that the new exchange's goal is to create more competition around quote activity, liquidity, and transparency. We don't fully know what that means, but I guess we'll find out once this thing gets closer. Now, to really see the comparison, we got to kind of learn a little bit about the history of New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. New York Stock Exchange is the oldest American exchange, founded in 1792, the largest equities-based exchange in the world by market cap, an auction market using design market makers, part of Intercontinental Exchange since 2013, known for listing well-established, stable companies. That's the New York Stock Exchange. Then you have the NASDAQ. NASDAQ Global Electronic Marketplace, founded in 1971, only about 53 years old, in New York City, known for listing technology giants like Apple and Google, a dealer market with multiple competing market makers, part of the publicly traded company NASDAQ Inc., perceived as home to growth-oriented, more volatile stocks. And by the way, when it comes down to the listing requirements comparison, both require an audit committee with independent directors. New York Stock Exchange requires a majority of independent directors on boards. NASDAQ requires at least 1/3 on its capital markets. Both have codes of conduct and corporate governance standards for transparency and accountability. And so if we look at all the different stock exchanges worldwide, here's the top 25. Here's what you would notice. The biggest exchange is the New York Stock Exchange. Number 2 is NASDAQ. Number 3 would go to Euronext. Then number 4 would go to, I think it's Shanghai Stock Exchange. 5 is Japan Exchange Group. But if you look at it, even all the shares combined, America still has 47% 28% of all major stock exchange. Europe, Middle East, and Africa has 24%. Asia Pacific has 29%. So the part that is a little bit exciting is the fact that we have two exchanges, both based out of the same city, same state, New York. Now we're going to get a Texas stock exchange. And Texas now's got what? Most of the Fortune 500, I think they're number 2 on Fortune 500 companies. I'm sure we're going to be looking at this. So let's look at states on what's happened since 2020. New York's finance jobs have grown 1.6% since 2020. Only 1.6%. Florida's grown 12.2%. Texas has grown 12.4%. Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America have expanded to Dallas. Matter of fact, I was in Dallas recently with Goldman Sachs. I was in actually Chicago with Goldman Sachs. In Dallas, they have this office, not a big office, but they're about to build their second biggest headquarters in Texas. And it employs, I think, almost the same size of amount of employees in Texas as New York, slightly less, but it's massive that they're building in Texas. So Goldman's already making that shift towards Texas with these types of numbers that we're seeing. Texas Stock Exchange says Texas and the Southeast lead the nation in economic expansion and population growth. Since 2005, over half of companies leaving California moved to Texas. According to Bloomberg, 158 companies managing almost $1 trillion in assets have left, ready, New York. And by the way, if you continue looking at that chart, look at the dark blue leaving New York out to 158 companies, right? 104 firms shifted to Florida. Of the 104 firms that shifted to Florida, 56 of them are from New York. That means the 158 companies that left $1 trillion of assets, they left New York. 56 of them came, a little more than a third, came to Florida. Now, according to California Policy Center's A Book of Exodus, at least 237 companies have left California since 2005. The Texas Stock Exchange Group said that Texas is home to more Fortune 500 companies than any other state. From the start of 2020 through the end of March 2023, more than 370 investment companies, about 2.5% of U.S. total, managing $2.7 trillion, moved their headquarters to a new state. And by the way, this chart is a phenomenal one to look at. If you look at this, purple is bad, green is good. What purple represents is money leaving. What green represents is money coming in. Notice where they're leaving. The purple, leaving California and going east. Look at New York, leaving New York and going south. And then look where the money is going to. The big arrows, the green, inflow. Texas, and what's the other big green inflow? Florida. This next chart, firms managing billions in assets migrated south. The left side of the purple, the darker the purple is, that means $1 trillion of money left. The darker the green is, that means $1 trillion of money went to them. Look at California, dark purple. Look at New York, dark purple. Look at Connecticut, slightly less dark, but it's still purple. Look at Washington. What you notice is money's leaving blue states. They've been exposed. Bad policies, treating businesses like shit. You cause them to leave because they're always going to have a home, California and New York. There's one thing about entrepreneurs and innovators and small businesses. There's always a home for them. There's always a home for people that create jobs. And look at the dark greens. Florida, darker than Texas. Tennessee, darker than Texas, but also dark. North Carolina. Look at Arizona. Look at Nevada. Nevada's got a no state tax, right? So you're seeing these shifts that are taking place, money flowing out. So Texas Stock Exchange is like, look, we may as well do this now. This is a great idea. And it's got $120 million they raised from Ken Griffin and from BlackRock. By the way, I live in Florida, so I'm going to show this to you. Investment firms flock to Miami and Tampa. Look at this here. Look at Miami, 63. Tampa, 35. West Palm Beach, 24. Boca Raton, 15. Palm Beach Gardens, 13. Jacksonville, 12. Naples, 13. Miami Beach, 11. This is just Florida. And when you look at Texas, what they did when it comes to investment jobs, they were number one. They gained the biggest net gain of investment jobs. Texas first, Tennessee second. Good for you, Tennessee. Arthur Laffer, who came up with the Laffer curve, decided out of all the places to live, Tennessee was the best place to live because he said Tennessee had the lowest all-in taxes out of all the states. Well, here it's validating that. So you got Texas winning, Tennessee winning, Connecticut net gain, Florida net gain, then Rhode Island. Look who's net loss. Washington, California, New York, Massachusetts, Michigan. This is specific to investment jobs. Tennessee was the best place in all-in lowest taxes in America. And by the way, if we compare which states have the most Fortune 500 companies, I do know they said that Texas has the most Fortune 500. It's not there yet. Number one is still California with 58, but Texas is 54 and climbing. Then New York is 52. Then Florida is 23. I think Florida has one of the best arguments to invite more businesses there and compete even higher in the top 2, top 3 spot. But we got some work to do in the state of Florida. I think the argument for Florida, the future looks bright for Florida. If I was in a different type of a position, I would be involved in recruiting businesses to the state of Florida because we have that good of an argument. The reason why I like this next chart is because this one shows a 2024 state business tax climate index, meaning it's all of it combined together. It's not just one area. It's corporate tax rank, individual tax rank, sales tax rank, property tax rank, unemployment insurance tax rank, and then it gives an overall rank on where's the best place to live that gives you the best tax benefits. On this chart, the best, number 1 is Wyoming, 2 is South Dakota, 3 is Alaska. Guess what number 4 is? This needs to be argued louder in the state of Florida. 5 is Montana, 6 is New Hampshire, 7 is Nevada, 8 is Utah. And by the way, Texas is not even in the top 10. Texas is number 13. But they're screaming louder with small business owners and companies and attracting them. Now, number 50 is Jersey, 49 New York, 48 California, 47 Connecticut. This shows you why Florida's got one of the best arguments to attract people in simply due to corporate tax rank, individual income tax rank, sales tax rank, property tax rank, and insurance tax rank. So why is this shift taking place? $1 trillion leaving your state, great state of California, the great New York, the greatest city in the world, the financial capital of the world. How the hell are you screwing it up where people are leaving you, right? Why? Very basic. Bad policies have consequences. And when you force change, you better put people on the LGBTQ side on your board or else you better explain yourself. What? You're talking to me like I'm 13 years old. I got to go and sit in front of my mommy and daddy. Why did you break the TV? I'm not doing that. I'm a freaking grown man building a business. I'm not sitting here telling you who I have on my, who are you for me to explain it to you? We're not doing that. Explain to me finances, numbers, audit, totally get it. Let's do quality of earnings, I get it. Let's do that stuff, totally get it. All the other stuff, I'm running my business. Texas is saying common sense. So number 1 is tax advantages. Texas has got that over New York, over California. 2, regulatory environment. You don't want to be in a place that they're just like, you're like, oh my God, I can't even breathe. It's already hard enough to run a business, let alone you want me to deal with your bullshit regulation. I don't want to deal with it. I want to go be free. Texas has given me that argument. Number 3, cost of living and operating costs. 4, quality of life and workforce availability. One time I pulled up a report asking what city had the people that worked the most hours per week. You know what city was number 1? City of Plano. Guess what city I lived in? In the city of Plano while I was in Texas. People were workers. You want people to work. It's just what you want. I can't believe you want people to work more hours than regular. When you're running a company and it's a startup, yeah, it's not going to be, let's go golfing on Fridays. You're building a company. If a person doesn't like it, no problem. Go work a government job. But if you're growing a business, yeah, you don't grow a billion-dollar business that makes it on a stock market by working 9 to 4. That doesn't happen. You need workers. So Texas offers that. And last but not least, government incentives. State governments often offer incentives such as grants, tax credits, and customized training programs to attract businesses. One of the reasons why we ended up moving to Texas, Tom and I went to an in-conference. I don't even know what year. We went to this in-conference, and it was in Tennessee. Matter of fact, Mark Cuban was one of the speakers because that's when I asked him, I said, what's your favorite book? And he said, Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand. At that event, we're going and networking with others. One of the people that were there was Mayor Masso, the mayor of Frisco, who Frisco went from having only 5,000 people in the city to having 100-something thousand people in the city, and now it's even way more. Frisco's massive. And he had a poker tournament. So we went and played in this poker tournament. Tom ended up winning a $50 gift card for having the worst poker face. He'll remember that because when he got pocket aces, everybody knew he couldn't hold it together. He was shaking. He was so excited, right? And then I won second place, and they bought me these nice alligator boots, and then they invited us to go to Frisco. So we went to Frisco, they picked us up, they came, they showed us Texas, family, gifts for my kids. Then later on, we went and met Governor Perry. Then later on, we went and met Nolan Ryan, Donnie Nelson. All of these guys are selling us how amazing Texas is at a Rangers game. It was the most incredible experience of inviting business owners to your state. I also did that with Reno, Nevada, because we went to Reno, met with the people in Reno. I did that with a few different states, but I love the way Texas approached us, and they recruited us. They went to conferences to recruit business owners like us to their states. Guess what ended up happening? They got a bunch of jobs, worked in their favor, right? So I'm not surprised that some of these cities and states are saying, we'll give you XYZ amount of tax credits if you come to our states. This is an idea that others can also apply. But these blue states have to realize your policies have consequences, and it's trillions of dollars of consequences, hundreds of thousands of jobs of losing these people. You cannot do that. Now it's officially public. If you got value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you've not seen the video, California's downfall, it's called California Exodus Getting Worse. If you've never seen that video, click here to watch it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.